The cops didn't want to be there. You could see it in their eyes, the weight shifting, the hesitation in their voices. But there they stood, at my doorstep, flanking a woman who was practically vibrating with rage. Her name, Brenda Garrison, HOA president, Sunset Ridge's unelected queen. And at that moment, she was melting down on my front lawn like a dictator about to be deposed. "I want him arrested," she screamed, her voice shrill enough to peel paint. "He harassed my guests on community property." But I didn't move, didn't blink. I'd been preparing for this moment for months. I held out a thick folder, deed copies, timestamped security footage, a notarized surveyor's map. "Officers," I said, calm as a razor, "you're going to want to see this." The younger cop took the papers. His partner turned just in time to see Brenda flailing her arms like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Then came the punchline. "Mum," the officer said, glancing up from the documents, "these weren't your guests. They were trespassing on private property." The silence that followed, deafening. Brenda's jaw dropped. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. And me, I just stood there. Not smiling, not gloating, just waiting. Because this was at the moment Brenda Garrison realized she'd declared war on the wrong person. Let's rewind. 6 months earlier, I moved into what I thought was a peaceful lakeside home. The perfect retreat, private dark, spacious yard. Peace, what the realtor didn't mention. The HOA president who treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. Brenda, 5 feet of venom in designer sunglasses. Ruling over Sunset Ridge with weaponized passive aggression and HOA bylaws, she twisted like a knife. She came for me 2 weeks after I moved in. Walked up my driveway uninvited with a clipboard and that smug smile. "You must be the new guy," she chirped. "Let's talk community standards." What followed was a 20-minute monologue about mailbox colors, acceptable mulch types, and how long your flag could be flown before being deemed visually aggressive. I played nice. Mistake number 1. 2 months later, I came home from a business trip to find 30 strangers on my lawn drinking, grilling, partying like it was a resort. My dock, my chairs, my grill, and in the center of it all, Brenda, like a Roman empress at her garden feast. "Excuse me," I called out. "What's going on?" Brenda turned, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Oh, don't worry. This is just overflow from the community pavilion. This is my property." She laughed in my face. "Don't be ridiculous. This space has always been used for HOA events. The last owner didn't mind." "Well, I do." And with that, the cracks began. Some guests scattered. Others argued. One drunk slob named Dale even waved a beer can at me. "Brenda said this dock belongs to the HOA. You can't kick us off community space." I showed him the deed. "You're 50 feet inside my private property line." Brenda turned red, then livid. "This is harassment," she shrieked. "You're humiliating me in front of the neighborhood." "You did that yourself," I said, then turned and walked back inside. I spent the next 2 hours documenting everything: photos, videos, timestamps, because I knew this wasn't over. And I was right. Monday morning, I got an official-looking letter from the HOA board, accusing me of harassment and unneighborly conduct. Signed by guess who? Brenda. That's when I stopped playing defense. I dug in. Found the HOA bylaws, got a licensed surveyor, installed high-def security cameras on every inch of my property. I stopped hoping she'd leave me alone and started planning her downfall. The hearing was a sham. Brenda filled the room with her cronies, those who feared her and those she controlled. She stood before the board and gave a theatrical performance worthy of a courtroom drama. Accused me of aggression, of hostility, of threatening her guests. Then I stepped forward, calm, focused. I handed over my proof: the deed, the footage, the notarized surveyor's report, and photos of beer cans littering my lawn. "Brenda never asked," I said. "She took." The board looked cornered, uncomfortable, but they sided with me. That should have been the end. But with people like Brenda, there's no such thing as surrender. Weeks passed, quietly. Then came the night she went too far. It was a Thursday. I was working in my office when I saw movement on my cameras. 5 men were setting up camp on my dock. One of them, Dale, of course. I walked outside. "Leave. Now." Brenda said we could meet here, Dale slurred. She's the president. She has authority. No, she doesn't. And if you don't leave, I'm calling the cops. Go ahead, he smirked. Brenda already did. She said you were threatening us. And that's when the police cars rolled in, lights flashing. Sirens screaming, Brenda materialized like a villain in a thriller, crocodile tears and all. Officers, she cried, this man's been terrorizing us. But I was ready. I pulled up the security footage. Showed them the trespassers. Showed me calm, non-threatening. Then I handed over the property records and HOA bylaws. Officer Patterson's tone changed, fast. Mum, she said, you appear to have made a false report. That's a crime. Brenda's face collapsed. Her entire fake persona shattered in seconds. The trespassers were cited. Dale failed his sobriety test. Brenda let off with a warning for now, but Patterson leaned in before she left and said, file for a restraining order. People like her don't quit. I didn't. I had a better idea. Over the next week, I became her worst nightmare. The quiet neighbor who documented everything. I subpoenaed HOA records. Found purchases Brenda had made party supplies, booze, even decorations charged to the HOA account for her events. Turns out Brenda's reign wasn't just tyrannical, it was illegal. And I wasn't the only one she targeted. Tom got fined $500 for grass. Sarah had to fight to keep a wheelchair ramp for her mother. Others had been bullied, silenced, humiliated. No one spoke until now. I called a lawyer. Prepped my folder. And when the next HOA meeting came, we didn't just attend. We ambushed, packed room, nervous energy. Brenda strolled in like she still owned the air we breathed. Then I stood. I motioned to remove the current HOA president for misconduct. Brenda's face froze. What misconduct? She hissed. I opened my folder. False police reports, embezzlement, harassment. I played the body cam footage. Played the receipts, showed proof she had spent thousands of HOA dollars on private parties. Silence. Then the vote. All in favor of removing Brenda Garrison. Hands shot up. Dozens. Only 3 opposed or part of her little regime. It was over. Brenda snapped. Threw her gavel, screamed, walked into a glass panel. Then stormed out like a fallen dictator, her mascara running and dignity shattered. But karma wasn't done. The HOA audit uncovered $15,000 in misused funds. She was charged with misdemeanor theft. Sentenced to community service, picking up trash in the very parks she used to rule like royalty. Now she walks her tiny dog the long way around the lake, avoiding my yard like it's cursed. When she passes my dock, the dock she once claimed, she stares straight ahead, as if I don't exist. But I do, and I won, because justice. Justice doesn't need a crown. It just needs receipts. Want more HOA takedowns like this? Hit subscribe, and tell me what's the worst thing your HOA ever pulled. Drop it in the comments. Let's expose them all.